My name is Sandra, Sandra Bichl. My last name is definitely not Polish. I'm originally from Austria. I was born and raised in Austria. In the last 17 years, ever since I've started working, I have worked and lived in 8 countries. And my background, the best way to describe my background is dual. On the one hand, I have worked in recruitment. I started in 2002 as a recruitment consultant in Budapest for Central Eastern Europe. I then also moved and worked in recruitment from 2005 until 2007 here in Warsaw. And the other part of my background is sales and marketing. Now, some of you might have heard about Career Angel, some not. Some ask me, so what is that? Why do you talk about LinkedIn? Now, when you combine recruitment and that marketing and sales state, what comes out is actually supporting candidates in selling themselves in a job market. So something I used to do very intuitively as a recruiter, and the part that I enjoyed the most as a recruiter was helping my candidates, not necessarily supporting my clients. That was already a signal I was not on the right side. And I very intuitively, very naturally supported my clients, my candidates, then they were my candidates, in finding jobs, in moving around the job market. Now, one thing that's very important, when I was recruited for the first time in 2002, there was one thing that I immediately observed, that most people, and you probably, if you have heard me before, you know that I keep saying that and repeating that, most candidates have multiple personality disorder, meaning that they make one impression on the screen on their CV, a different impression on the phone, a different impression in person, a different impression on LinkedIn. Didn't exist back then in 2002, but when I started recruiting here in Poland, LinkedIn already had started. So to be a successful candidate means to be very consistent across all channels. And one of these channels is LinkedIn. Now, the reason why you're here is probably because you recognize how important LinkedIn is. So I will not start a presentation on 5 minutes of the power of LinkedIn, how many users, etc., etc. You probably already know that. I'd rather focus on the very practical tips of how you can attract recruiters and potential employers to your profile, so they get in touch with you, asking for your CV or with concrete job offers. Does that sound good? I like Piotr. Anything else that you're interested in? Any particular questions you have? I do have a little bit of flexibility in the next hour, 20 minutes. So if there's a specific question that you came with, tell me now, I'll write it down and make sure I do address your questions or concerns.
Are we going to talk about additional activities on LinkedIn, like pages or articles and things that we can do? But no, I think most of the people don't do it.
Okay. What else?
Using LinkedIn as a sales channel.
Okay, let's do that. Let's address that after 7:30. Okay? Anything else?
Maybe very pragmatically, when it comes to the premium profile.
Yes.
If you're not in recruitment and you're not in sales with LinkedIn, are there any advantages?
So your question, do I need premium, and if yes, what for? Okay?
Why sometimes LinkedIn algorithms put you lower in rank with premium version when you add additional skill which isn't perfectly in compliance with your basic skills, but it adds something, some additional skill, but then automatically LinkedIn estimates you as a worse candidate than you used to be before adding this additional skill.
So you are asking how the LinkedIn algorithm works, basically, or why it's sometimes counterintuitive.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Anything else? Good. Now that's actually, let's start with the last question here. LinkedIn keeps tweaking the algorithm, and things that worked a month ago don't necessarily work now. So that's a thing that keep changing, and we need to keep adapting. So some things seem counterintuitive, and I highly recommend anybody who wants to really keep on top of LinkedIn, especially when using it as a sales tool, to follow social media now, okdork.com, etc., to look at the statistics and see what starts and stops working. I don't have a definite answer here, because I don't think that LinkedIn has a definite answer, because they keep tweaking the algorithm all the time. They have sometimes surprised me when I, just an hour or two before a webinar or a workshop, everything was ready, I refresh LinkedIn and it just looks differently. So it's still it's a live organism that still keeps adapting and learning. Though I will mention a couple of things on how to influence the algorithm positively. Now, one thing that's also important when preparing a LinkedIn profile, we need to remember that we fill the LinkedIn profile out for actually two kinds of target groups. One, that is the human being, meaning the recruiter, the potential employer, the candidate, etc., and for the robot. So we need to satisfy two fronts, basically. Now, to kick off, Małgorzata has volunteered her profile. So I would like you to find Małgorzata Pajka on LinkedIn. So log onto your profiles if you don't have one, share screens. Find Małgorzata Pajka. I'll give you 1 minute and read her profile. And I'll then ask you a couple of questions. Okay. Without looking at the profile anymore, what are 3 things that you remember about Małgosia? Spontaneously, what do you remember?
Jewelry from wood. Wood jewelry.
Wood, jewelry. What else?
AutoCAD skills.
AutoCAD skills.
Great photo.
Say again?
Great photo.
Okay, great photo. Any other associations? Yes, Martin?
Graduate course in University of Technology, Hotel Management for studies.
Okay, so you remember the school and the studies. What else? Roman.
It's too late.
Okay, good. So those are the first 3-4 things that you associate with her profile. Now, what would you say, who's her target group? It's okay to say, I don't know.
Could be some designers or this kind of people.
Designers or?
Like something similar to design.
Okay.
Customers who are willing to change their houses to do some work in
Houses, yes?
Houses, homes, apartments.
Okay.
Eco-users, sort of, like savvy in terms of the children made from wood.
Okay. What is that's then connected? What do you say? What's the purpose of her LinkedIn profile? What's the call to action? What does she want to achieve with the profile?
I don't think there is a clear message.
No clear
Difficult
message.
to say.
Say again?
Difficult to say.
Maybe because you are using the summary, some of
Okay.
kind of
No summary.
Also
Good.
recruiting
Mhm.
employees.
Employees. So you think she's looking for candidates?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one note about that in my articles,
Okay.
so maybe that one.
Good. Małgosia, please come up
Here?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's not exactly what I want to earn in this in my LinkedIn. Three things: great photo, thank you.
Now, we talked on the phone. Good that you're already reacting to what you see on the chart,
Yeah.
but we already talked on the phone getting ready for today's session. And you did tell me, I did ask you, so why do you have the profile, and what did you tell me?
I told you that I don't
She
really
remembers.
know
Exactly.
what I want to say to people in
Okay.
LinkedIn.
And as you can see, it's confirmed by you. So we don't really know. We don't know the target market. We don't know the purpose because she doesn't know yet. And that's one-to-one reflected on the profile. So if you don't know the potential customers, candidates, employers want to know.
I want to say something like that I'm in my daily work, I'm tool shop leader, so I'm something like typical engineer,
Mhm.
but I want to connect it with my creative hobby,
Yeah.
like wooden jewelry, wooden bow ties and something like that. So
But we do see there is a mixed message. Does she want customers? Some of you say, well, it's probably jewelry customers. Somebody said it's house or home customers. That's two different kinds of customers. And we don't know if she maybe is looking for a job because it does say tool shop leader with Corning Incorporated. So there's a big question mark. I, as a recruiter, would not feel, I actually wouldn't know whether to contact you or not, because I might think maybe she's more interested in her side business. I don't
yes,
know.
but
Yeah.
maybe a lot of times I have a lot of benefits because my hobby in my Corning work.
Mhm.
So it shows that I'm creative and I'm not a typical engineer. So for people from Corning,
Mhm.
this profile is good.
Okay.
But I think for the people outside,
Okay.
it's not really.
And that's something also very important. She said, when building a LinkedIn profile, the first step that I recommend everybody to do is decide who's my target, but what do you need the LinkedIn profile for? Because as she said, you can have your LinkedIn profile for your own internal company. Because Małgosia said it's fine for Corning. Outside doesn't understand it maybe, but maybe outside is not the target group. Maybe she wants to position herself inside the company, and that's fine. Yeah, so that's important. Thank you very much. Thank you for being brave.
Important question.
Yes.
Do people from Corning internally care about your LinkedIn profile?
Apparently, yes.
Yes. I have a lot of
You mean from
people
Corning
from-
Global, probably, yeah?
yes,
Oh, okay.
from a lot of countries around the world. Yeah.
So when you have big corporations like SAP, Microsoft, etc., or P&G, the P&Gs of the world, a lot happens with internal positioning, and then that makes sense. And from outside, it might make less sense. So step number one, definitely define why you need a LinkedIn profile. Should it help you get a job? Should it help you get customers? Should it help you be visible within the company? Do you want to be seen as an expert, etc., etc., etc.? Potential or current. Good. Let's try another profile. Please find Jakub Jasinski. And I'll give you a minute and start.
Sandra, możesz wykasować posta, co wrzuciłem na company page?
Which one?
There is a delay. It's always funny when there's a delay. I can see myself talking, although obviously not talking anymore. That's fine. Fantastic. So, Cuba, what are 3 things that you remember about Cuba? Quickly. Prince 2. Fuel specialist. Orland. Oil industry. Sea experience. In sea, not sea. Sea. Okay.
I didn't like what he wrote about motivating unmotivated people.
Okay, so there is an emotion of liking or not liking something. Good. Who is his target group? Who knows?
Employers.
Professional around oil industry. Professionals.
Professionals in the oil industry. Who says, I don't know? Okay. Cuba says, I don't know. That's good. What's the purpose of his LinkedIn profile?
Find a job, I think.
Maybe to position himself as director.
Maybe to position himself as a director.
Maybe progress in the career.
Okay, maybe to continue progressing. Cuba, what's true? Please come up and share.
Casual dress because I didn't expect I would be on TV.
Looking much better than on the picture.
So, creating that profile I thought about being found out by headhunters or potential employers. As I heard, it's your impression as well.
Potentially. Good.
But I heard also something you disliked about my.
Unmotivated people, yes, because it sounds like where you go, there are unmotivated people. So, you know.
And we will discuss that after 7:30 in detail. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Last but not least, what does S stand for?
Well, it's supposed to be the full. Sorry.
I know,
Secret.
but I need to tell them to find you.
Sokolowski.
Rafał Sokołowski. And again, 1 minute. I will tell you why later, because I know why.
So if I type Rafał S, will not find.
Sokołowski.
No.
Fantastic. 3 things you remember about Rafał.
Not sure what he really does.
Not sure what he does.
Co-founder.
Co-founder.
Sales.
Sales.
MBA graduate.
MBA graduate.
Financial institution.
Financial institutions.
15 years of experience.
15 years of experience. Good. What's his target group? Who is his target group?
Customers.
Potential customers.
No, I wouldn't agree.
Okay?
I would say more kind of job seeking.
Job seeking.
Yeah.
Okay?
Co-founder and CEO. Vice versa.
Might not be going too well.
That's true.
Okay. Any other impressions? What his target group or who his target group might be? If you say customers, what kind of customers? B2B? All kinds of B2B? Big companies, small companies? We don't know.
Rather big companies.
We don't know what the company is. We will understand exactly telecommunication ICT. So
Okay.
if I was a customer, I wouldn't
Good.
understand the company.
What's the purpose of his LinkedIn profile? What's the call to action? Say again?
Difficult to say.
Difficult to say. And it usually is that way. So most LinkedIn profiles do not have a defined goal, they don't have defined target markets, target groups, and don't have a defined call to action. So when looking for a job, that's today's topic. When looking for a job, it's good to define what kind of people from what kind of company should be contacting you. Is it headhunters? Is it executive search? Is it search and selection? Is it decision makers from companies? If yes, what kind of companies? Maybe internal recruiters. So we want to be specific. Now, before we go into full job search mode and description of how to use LinkedIn as a job search tool, let's go through Małgosia's profile from top to bottom, and where appropriate, I'll switch to Kuba's or to Rafał's profile. Now, the first thing on LinkedIn is up there, the LinkedIn link. All 3 of them, which is an absolute exception, have discovered how to personalize a LinkedIn profile link. For those who have not done it yet, and usually it's between 60 and 70% of any audience, the way to update your LinkedIn link is to go to Edit Public Profile and URL. And Rafał has to pay attention here as well because of the S dot. On the upper right hand side, you have this little pencil where you usually delete the numbers that are in the default link. You can then add it to your CV, to your signature, so that recruiters can find your profile much faster, especially if you have a common name and it's difficult to find you. And then the other thing is your profile's public visibility. Now, what Rafał has done is he said, I don't want everybody to find me. I don't know why yet. Why do I know it? Because I don't see his last name. So, and he can edit that in Edit My Public Profile. First, you decide who can see your photo. If you're looking for a job, my recommendation is to have at least all LinkedIn members. LinkedIn and the statistics say that profiles with a photo are clicked on more frequently and contacted than profiles without a photo. End of story. And then if it's entirely public, we also can define what do we want the people to see if they find us. So I could, for example, say I don't want them to see my headline, and on the left you see how it changes. So I now set no headline and no summary, and you will see how the summary now disappears. So I have a preview of the changes Fantastic. Questions to that? Moving on.
About
Yes.
this, about the section I can choose. There
Yes.
are sections, for example, courses I can add and I can delete it, or
Here you can decide what others see without connecting to you. Yeah? And the other sections, that's then when you added your normal profile. This is editing the public profile. Good. Now, moving on. We have the background photo. Rafał and Kuba do not have one. Małgosia has one. What is your philosophy? What do you think about background photo? Yes or no? And why? I'm interested.
Might be an eye catcher.
Might be an eye catcher.
Or might be not.
Or might be not.
Might be a disruptor.
Yeah, but for
What's the
Małgosia,
value in it?
it makes sense because she's doing some creative work.
Yes. So my favorite answer here would be it depends, but because it depends on your target group and on your call to action. So if it's really merely job search, leave it blank and neutral. If it is for customer, for employer branding, etc., definitely think about what kind of background photo can underline your message. If it's to position yourself as an expert, as a speaker, you can be there on stage. Yeah, make sense? Good. Background photos that do not work is anything that is too personal. Where when somebody visits your profile goes like, I don't understand. Photos of cities, of bridges, of water, poems, quotes of people, or my favorite, your own quotes. Yeah, people have different ideas. Fantastic. Let's continue. Profile photo. Let's define this is completely random people. Now let's be fair, let's say outside of Poland, US. Okay.
What means first, second, near the...
How far the people are connected to me. So second means we have one person in common, third is two. Like, okay. Now, we will, the first couple of photos, we will calibrate and see if we have the same scale, the same measure. We will say 5 are photos that are professional and inviting. 1 means no, 3 means neutral, okay? So, on a scale from 1 to 5, how do we like Brian's photo? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So,
Okay, why 2?
He smiles too much. I see the forest behind me.
The quality of this photo.
Exactly. So there are a couple of things. 1, definitely quality. 2, unless he works outside, it's a photo probably, it looks like a wedding photo, where you probably hug somebody and just cut out. You can see that that's not a photo for LinkedIn, maybe Facebook, for friends who know the context, but this doesn't belong to a professional, on a professional social media site. So that would definitely be a 2. Not a 1, because they're worse. Erin, on a scale from 1 to 5.
1.
I'd actually say it's probably similar to the 2. 1 is really bad. Okay. Antoinette. It's too close. If it was more zoomed out, and if she was wearing, we don't know what she's wearing, but professional attire, maybe. We don't know that. Chris.
straight from
Why not more, Conrad? Why not a 5? If that's how he looks like and that's how he goes to his business meetings, then it's a 5. the thing is, it's about being natural, being who you are. And if this is how he looks like, then that's perfectly fine. If he doesn't wear ties to interviews and business meetings, then that's absolutely fine. Yeah? Good.
It's probably up to the country, up to the culture, yeah?
And your target group. So if he was a lawyer, that would be a no-go because there's no tie. If you worked in IT, maybe a little bit too formal, t-shirt might be better. So industry and culture, obviously, and your target group was super important. What about this?
Scary.
But again, I mean, objectively,
Yes.
that's probably a 4. Good. Małgosia.
Kind of private.
5.
That's from 5.
Okay. Do you wear glasses when you go to meetings? Do you wear glasses?
Yes.
Okay. My recommendation would be wear glasses in the photo.
Okay.
It's about recognizing somebody when you walk into especially in interview situations. You want to be recognized by others, and glasses, maybe not for you, but for somebody who doesn't know, makes a big difference. Remember when you walked up to me, I didn't recognize you.
Okay.
Good. But overall, good quality. If that's how she dresses in business, that's perfectly fine. Rafał, on a scale from 1 to 5.
Very small. Very small.
Silence.
Actually,
Rafał, maybe you go first.
well, 3.
It has potential. It's about zooming out. With men, when you're wearing a tie, don't cut the tie off. So make sure the tie is visible. And it might probably help to give the photo to a graphic designer to do a little bit of Photoshop makeup, post-production makeup, and then it's fine. Kuba, on a scale from 1 to 5.
Or 5, I'm just about to change. 3.
But Kuba, you go ahead, you assess yourself.
I heard so many times it's a bad photo. So
One of the first things somebody said, you look much nicer in person.
so that's why I have a new one, and I'm just about to change it, but still not sure.
Okay. Now, one important thing, when you choose a photo, and that's the thing, most photographers don't know it or forget about it, make sure you choose a good fabric that doesn't have that funny effect on the screen. Do you see that? And most photographers will forget about it or not, won't be aware of it. So it's unfortunately on your side to make sure you bring clothes that do not cause that effect. Yeah? Good. Let's continue. We have first name and last name. Usually nothing too complicated, but turns out it is complicated for some. Make sure it's first the first name, then the last name. What happens if you have a common name? Joanna Kowalska. Add an initial. So add an initial, Joanna M. Kowalska, and make sure you start using it as part of your personal branding. So it's Joanna M. Kowalska on your CV, in your signature, consistently everywhere, so everybody knows it's Joanna M. Kowalska, for example. What do we think about adding titles? MBA, PhD, MA, BA, MSc, etc., etc. Yes or no?
No.
Who says yes?
Yes, but not too much. Not too many, sorry.
Who says no? Who says it depends? Exactly, you already said it. It depends on your target group. If your target group is the German-speaking market and you are an engineer or have a PhD, etc., that's important to them, then you add it. But if it's a target group where it doesn't make sense or might even find annoying or arrogant, then don't add it. Yeah? Good. And now we have the first challenge, tagline. Małgosia's tagline reads, Tool Shop Leader with Corning Incorporated.
Or the.
Yes.
It should be, but it's automatically from LinkedIn.
We can change it.
Okay.
We can always edit the tagline. So one, keep it overall the profile, and we'll see Małgosia has that. I discovered it after our conversation. It's actually in 2 languages. Some of the descriptions are in English, some of them are in Polish. So make sure your profile is in 1 language only. Tagline, if it says Tool Shop Leader at Corning Incorporated, and she wants to position herself within Corning Incorporated, is it a good tagline or not?
No.
Well, for within Corning, everybody say, oh, she's a Corning.
Yes.
So for that target group, it's absolutely fine. Rafał actually didn't ask you about your target group. And the purpose of your profile, I simply jumped right to the practical part. So tell us, what's the purpose of your LinkedIn profile? Come up so everybody can hear you properly.
Honestly speaking, I don't know. But
That's good.
I started like, 15 years ago, and it was like adding more activities, and so actually no particular goal, just to have to be on LinkedIn and just to add some friends who I'm missing because to change the job and just to have a connection. Actually, it was the main idea. And however, it's supposed to be moving towards being the kind of a job-seeking person.
Okay, good. As a recruiter, I'd have 2 questions. Do you have 2 jobs or 2 things at the same time?
Yeah, actually 3.
Okay,
The
gets
last
even more
one- the last one
complicated.
is not here.
Okay, but from the 2, what's your current situation?
Actually, I'm kind of a relationship manager for the banking industry, kind of the contract for the bank,
Okay,
doing the.
and that's
startup.
something that is not on LinkedIn?
Right.
Okay,
Doing the startup, actually wrapping up the fund,
okay,
and this is the family business, the kind of the facility management company, which is
Superlux.
exactly.
Okay. As in job search, will it be within the banking industry?
Right.
Okay.
Actually, more towards fintechs.
Okay.
Fintechs, due to the shrinking of the industry.
Okay. So what probably makes most sense is to rename your current role. So instead of saying co-founder/CEO, sales manager or client relationship manager. So we have the technology aspect, and add the bank, and delete Superlux.
Okay.
Yes? Good.
Cool.
Cool. We did spend 1 minute on each profile. Recruiters will spend less, especially when doing research. Now, the easiest profile to do that with is Kuba's profile, because of what you do. Supply chain / commercial director. Let's look for supply chain director in Poland. So if you were to look for a job, you compete against at least 875 people who are supply chain directors. And we probably also need to look for logistics, supply chain and logistics, not only supply chain, etc., etc. So that also gives us a good benchmark of how much better does our profile have to be than our competitors. So it's good to click through a couple of profiles and see how good are the profiles, how much better do I have to be, because recruiters, when looking for candidates, will do exactly what I just did and will take a couple of seconds to see, do I see my keywords? Is it the right company? Do I see my keywords? If yes, click connect or message. If no, out and next. And this really happens within a couple of seconds. And sometimes it's something as subtle as, I don't like the photo. I don't want to talk to somebody. Sometimes people have alcohol in the photos, or, I mean, there are different things that we might dislike. So it's good to understand who you're competing against. Good. So with the tagline, and that's the thing that we see, that recruiters see when looking for candidates, they see your name, your photo, and then here your tagline. And depending on how you want to position yourself, that's how you then adapt the tagline to something more specific or something broader. Here we have supply chain and then the company or without a company or / logistics director. So that's also important for the keywords and the LinkedIn algorithm.
Is it better to have a slash or is it better to have an and?
Doesn't matter. Let's see if we find anything that looks weird. Some at the region, which could be a good idea if that's what I want to do. Usually supply chain is something rather, there's not much creativity in the taglines. The creativity starts with other. Rafa, what would be your, if you applied somewhere, what would be your position in the fintech?
Right. Relationship management. So
Let's try it without fintech.
The question is, how creative should I be with that? Because,
It depends on your target market.
Because for me, if I'm looking for a job like as a simple supply chain director, it's good if someone has a name supply chain director.
Of course.
Shall I change it?
No.
Delivery magician?
No, definitely not. So that's what I'm saying, depending on the target group, it's better to stay conservative or precise rather than broader. So if we say relationship management or relationship manager, maybe. Relationship manager, we have 3,288 relationship managers.
that's true.
If we add fintech, 21. So the positioning helps us, and recruiters will go from very specific, and depending on what they find in the specific, they will then continue to broaden the search.
What if we would like to position
Ourselves, yes?
or two positions, let's say relationship manager and business development manager?
That's still more or less the same box.
Yeah,
So
but
then I
different names, yeah?
Then I put a slash. Relationship manager / sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you not enlist, there will be no results in such.
Yes. Good. So we have discussed taglines. Again, no profile summary. Okay. And now again, we will assess the profile summaries on a scale from 1 to 5. 5 will mean unique and defined target group. 1 means terrible, very generic. 3 means neutral. How would we like his, how would we assess, it's not about liking, it's about how would we assess his profile summary on a scale from 1 to 5?
It's too long.
That's for you.
I think describe it from certified.
Which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who says 3, 4, 5, 2? What about those who didn't raise their hands? 1?
I have no idea how to judge.
Okay. So it's probably neutral. It's not we don't have, there's a little bit of everything here. Let's,
He mixes with, he starts with himself and then he mixes.
and then the company and then back and forth. So I'd say it's a 3. Adam, on a scale from 1 to 5. Yes, they are for everybody. You're not
I'm
alone.
not the only one.
No. Who says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Okay. See, there is also preferences. Some like it short, some like it longer. It is a statement. I'd say it's neutral, it's a 3. It's neither, there is something missing.
I don't know the capital letters in the tagline.
It's about India.
Don't like caps lock. Definitely not. Mariusz.
Reviews.
Simplification.
Visionary.
Okay.
Can we find some shortcut?
Here, that might be a 4, because there is something concrete. But again, is that what we want for the target group? Now, looking at this, I'd say my first impression is he stopped going to conferences in 2013. But is that relevant for my target group? For me, the best profile summary is one that is, think of it as that. If somebody comes to your LinkedIn profile and says, oh, I really liked it, I really like the summary, I will copy paste it to my own profile, I'll just exchange 2 or 3 words, then it's too generic. So what we want to find is, because at the end of the day, this is your USP, your unique selling proposition. So you need to know, the first step that we said, what's the purpose of the profile, what's your target market, and what do they want to read. On the other hand, we can't be too specific because it is public information. So we can't put all the information that we would normally share in a CV that is a confidential document. So there's this very fine line, which is super, I know that it's super difficult. So the best thing to do is first to start with your CV. Well, I'll explain the easiest way of preparing a profile summary that gets you a relatively easy 4. A 5 would require probably copywriting skills. So, in your CV you have professional experience and you have your current position, probably responsibilities and selected successes / projects. If you don't have that yet, edit. And then here, we should have 3 to 5 bullet points. And then we have the next position, and again, 3 to 5 bullet points. So the reader is usually interested in the last 7 to 10 years. Now, and more recently, the last 7 years, because it reflects our current market. So anything you've done 15 years ago or 20 years ago is not that relevant anymore. So we look at the last about 7 to 10 years. And usually when you look at your successes and projects, there is a common theme of 2 or 3 areas that you're really good at. Keeping it simple, it's best to find those 2 areas. And let's say for Kuba, that will be his expertise in oil and gas and supply chain. Supply chain / logistics. And what I'll do in the next step, I will look at my successes and projects of the last 7 to 10 years and see what proves that I'm an expert in oil and gas. And I list here, I choose the 3 to 5 most important bits. And I do the same, what have been my successes, what proves that I'm an expert in supply chain and logistics, and I choose 3 to 5 project successes, etc. You can copy paste it, and then it's about shortening it, rewriting it a little bit. Sometimes if it's short enough, you can copy paste it up there. So basically what you do, you create a trailer to the rest of your CV. Step number 1, have your CV. Step number 2, once that is done, so this is step 1. Step 2, delete anything that is confidential or that you shouldn't be publishing, and out of this, write your profile summary for LinkedIn. That's the easiest thing that gets you a solid 4 usually. But you start with the CV. Then some might say, well, but all my successes are public knowledge, etc. I'll just copy paste my CV onto LinkedIn. Then there's no need for a call to action from the recruiter. Because if you serve some, like on a silver platter, your whole CV, then there's no reason for the recruiter to get in touch with you to ask for a CV. So there's again a fine line between too much and not enough. So we want to be attractive enough for somebody who wants to get in touch with us. But again, not too few information for them to say, I can't see anything in this profile, delete, I'll go to the next one because I can choose from 875 people.
So if you click on my profile, then should I understand it's too much about soft part of
Yes.
like more about my management style?
Yes. Usually, I mean, whenever I ask somebody in interview simulations or when we have our first career consultation, one thing we ask almost everybody, so what are your strengths? Almost everybody says, I'm a good manager. Everybody's a good manager, apparently. Now, can you prove it? What proves that you're actually better than everybody else?
That's in CV and my business cases.
If you have them, but not everybody has them.
I do.
That's good. Now,
But I cannot present them here because of the confidentiality.
then find, have you received awards for being a manager? Applause from your people, okay. So let's assume you're really better than the others. Then use a quote to highlight that. Don't say about yourself, I'm a good manager, but include references, not in the references below. Even if you have them maybe below, copy paste 1 or 2 sentences and use a quote. Saying, thanks to Jakub, I have maybe not changed my life, but thanks to Jakub, Jakub is the best manager I have worked with so far because he's able to tap into the potential of the team and synergy and blah, blah, blah. For example. Or another way, but I don't recommend it to everybody, is to actually start with a statement or end with a statement. So your management philosophy, if you really, there is something that you believe in, and you can talk about it in a meaningful way during the interview, then you can add a statement.
What about the words here? Are they positioning our profile as well?
Yes, getting there. So with the profile summary, the first couple of lines that you write are for the human being. For the recruiter that scrolls when you see the previews of the profiles before clicking read more. So this is for the human being. But then we also need to make sure we have addressed the robot. So to be sure that it's positioned well, so you have a couple of lines for the human. Come on. couple of lines for the human, and then we can add keywords. And actually be as blunt as to actually say keywords. And then add the 5, 10 keywords with a comma or below, whatever will look nicely as part of the big picture, and add the keywords to make the robot happy. So be very practical about that. The human will stop reading here. If that's well written, we will disregard the part here anyway. Yeah?
Does robot read from the profile summary,
Yes.
or it reads also from the skills expertise?
They read everything.
Yeah. So should I repeat expertise or skills into
Yes.
summary?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Another question, can I?
Yes, you can.
Should we use passive voice or active voice in our profile summary? When active voice, should we use third person or first person?
I understand the question.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sorry.
1, verbs. Anything that is active makes a better impression. So, and there is a difference between whether you're currently doing it or you have done something. So, depending on the whole setup here, because some will currently, some will be in the past, it's good if it's a unified form. So not to confuse the reader and say, well, there is probably a mistake because here is a D missing and here is a D missing. So obviously it has to be unified to not confuse the reader. When it comes to first person or third person, we have asked people who read the profiles, and the preference is to third person or neutral. First person, I recommend it to somebody who is that's not a wrong word, but of a lack for a better expression, a one-man show. So somebody who is a speaker and really speaks I and my philosophy, or an author, where would look a bit, something like that. Or if there's a real reason behind writing in the first person, but usually what's preferred to reading, especially in Polish, is neutral or third person. I know that you will find, LinkedIn gurus who will insist and say you have to write it in the first person. Might be for marketing purposes, branding, again, the one-man show, but as a candidate who is on a relatively conservative job market, keep it. Yes. Good. One thing, now I remember what I wanted to say. Because somebody said, I think it was you, Jarek, who said, well, how do I sell on LinkedIn? Or if Rafa wanted to continue with his company, you can use the profile summary as space to promote or explain what you do. And either in the profile summary and or when describing the company, startup, whatever, you can add a call to action. If you want to learn more, go to www. If you'd like to hire me, email me at. If you would like to, I don't know, apply to be part of my team, send me your CV too, or this is our career website. So we can add call to actions to the profile summary, plus to then the description of the companies. To really make sure, hey, if you want to be my client, so if you're a small and medium-sized company with a turnover of 2 to 10 million zloty, get in touch with me, I can help with this and that, or our company, or my company, depending on, again, the positioning and who you're targeting. What I do not recommend is saying, please hire me, or posting the CV. For that, we have something else on LinkedIn, and I'll show you how that works. When looking for a job, when in editing mode, you will see your dashboard and something called career interests. Click on that, click on, so others see that you're looking for a job. That's one of the best things LinkedIn has done to introduce that. However, they do say, we take steps not to show your current company that you're open, but cannot guarantee complete privacy. So, if you think that your HR department is particularly curious, you can always say not looking but open to offers, or casually looking. To keep it, I mean, everybody has the right to be casually looking or not looking but be open to offers. No to recruiters. Now, those are 300 characters. I don't have a magic recipe on how to use that. To give you an idea of how I know some IT people use it, they actually say, if you have a job offer that is outside of London and under 500,000, please do not get in touch with me. Because they get too many job offers with completely random stuff.
Something positive.
Of course, that's why I'm saying how some, on the other hand, you can also rephrase it and say, listen, thank you for taking the time to read my LinkedIn profile, welcome. Feel free to email me for my CV, for example. Some leave it blank, and that's okay. So this is something when you want to communicate something very specific up front. And then you simply go ahead and fill out the rest of this, let's call it questionnaire. Where are you in your job search? Actively applying. What job titles are you considering? And then you add all the job titles. So we would have supply chain director, okay, logistics, director of logistics, okay, etc., etc. And we fill that one out. Then we have where would you like your next job to be located, and we can add where. Near my home, I'm open to working remotely. What types of jobs are you open to? Which industries do you prefer? How big does the company have to be? So this is like your wish list that LinkedIn matches you to, and also that help the recruiters understand where you are at. And here again, you don't have to have a premium account to do this. Everybody has access to it. Now let's make sure I switched it off. I don't want to receive any job offers. Good. So if you are thinking about looking for a job, definitely homework, fill that one out. Where is Congosh? Here. Great. Then we have something like activity. Now, most people forget about that. When we click on see all, who is not active. So Rafael, for example, has written an article in 2015, 3 years after he stopped going to conferences. What about posts? Oh, 1 year ago. And here was a bit more active. And those things show us and tell us certain things. Is it going well? Isn't it going well? What's the focus? Etc. Okay, so post stopped a year ago. Look at activity. So Kuba, for example, doesn't use it because we can't see any activity, so he's a passive LinkedIn user.
What does it tell you as a web?
That you don't use it as a marketing tool. And if it's a role that doesn't require that, then that's absolutely fine. But if the role requires some PR, some employer branding, etc., I might assume, wrongly or not, that he might not be that willing to be clicking and sharing, for example. Rafa like that, yes. Crystal form when heat is applied, interesting. And we see what he likes. And what kind of stuff he likes, so we again can arrive at certain conclusions. Małgosia likes that we are live. Okay, thank you for liking that. We like Oleg. I like him too. I follow his stuff. Difficult not to follow. He has lots of activity. And we can see what Małgosia is interested in, what she comments on, how she comments. And again, on the commenting and on the activity, you can again arrive at certain conclusions, false or not. There are people who, what they do on LinkedIn is, they're cheerleaders. They will always say, congratulations, well done, thank you for sharing, call them the cheerleaders. Is that added value? Not really. I much rather appreciate if somebody makes the effort of sending me an actual message saying, hey, thank you so much for the article. I enjoyed it. That's for me more meaningful. Now the easiest way, and this is also talking about LinkedIn algorithm, LinkedIn loves people who create content. So what kind of activity can we have on LinkedIn? We can like something. What else can we do?
Put some posts.
We can post, post, share, and
Comment.
that would be probably, actually I don't know where it currently stays. If commenting is, right now I don't know what the algorithm prefers. And what else can we post?
No.
Rafael did it in 2015, an article. Okay, now knowing that LinkedIn likes content, it's best to focus on these. The easiest way to create content and to be noticed and shared more often is, and that will be the easiest for, actually equally easy for Rafael and Kuba. Let's assume that Kuba says, you know, I've been in logistics for 15 years, I can actually tell others how to do it. I want to move to consulting. So what Kuba can do is choose 10 consulting companies that do consulting in logistics once a week. So choose 10 consulting firms, follow them. Once, ideally twice per week, but one should be enough, per week, Kuba chooses something from one of the consulting firms. They're usually very good at producing reports and articles. And then the magic trick is in choosing one good thing. You click share. Okay. The green one.
Okay.
Click share and add a meaningful post/comment at the beginning. So you don't blindly share, but you say, and you tag, you say at PwC, 2 days ago released a report that I highly recommend reading, especially page 3 and 4, looking at the worldwide trend of oil prices sinking, growing, whatever. I can confirm that, and have something that's a little bit longer. Not just take great article, but take the extra 5, 10, 15 minutes to create something meaningful, which, what happens? One, sooner or later, one of them sees, oh, there is Kuba, and he likes and shares and has meaningful comments. Maybe he wants to work with us. On the other hand, your network will start seeing, oh, Kuba is active. He must be an expert in logistics in the oil industry. Maybe he wants to change his job, or maybe we should invite him to a conference, etc., etc. This is the easiest way to create content and to make the robots at LinkedIn happy. Plus your network, etc., etc. Make sense? Questions? Good.
The robots to show recruiters, yeah, that I'm good at it.
That as well. Now that's a good point. That's a good comment. One is the robots and the algorithm, etc. On the other hand, depending on the role in the company, some say, but does it really matter that I say congratulations 10 times a day? Well, if it's something important or potentially important for the role that you're being recruited, it might influence it. Let me give you an example.
What about these hashtags and all of the like?
Before we get there, ask that in a bit again. This gentleman put yourselves in the shoes of a recruiter, and let's say he wants to, he's a candidate for commercial development, EMEA. Good company, good job. This is great, Suzanne. Commenting on a photo of a lady. He likes that. So cute. Happy New Week, beautiful friend Cheryl. I will stand for what I believe, and I hope that you will do the same. May the force be with you. This is hilarious. You are awesome. What is the name of the series? What is your now? Great, wishing you success, etc., etc., etc. And now one might say these ladies shouldn't even be posting this stuff on LinkedIn, but on the other hand, there are people who react to that.
Unless he's in the furniture business.
Great photo shoot, Sarah. You are awesome. So,
for sure, the guy has a lot of time.
And again, people can arrive at certain conclusions. Maybe he's a fantastic manager. Maybe he's bored. Maybe he's something. But people, and in recruitment, they have started looking at the activity to decide: do I want this person to be part of my team? Without even talking to you. And yes, they might arrive at wrong conclusions. Too much interaction, too much liking, too much sharing, or not the right stuff, or this.
So isn't the strategy to know what could be at all? If someone is interested, then we have to check it against.
Again, the thing is, just for everybody, Kuba said, well, what if there's no activity at all? If you are in marketing, I'd say that's a wrong strategy. If you are a logistics guy, why not? So my recommendation is it's always better to not do anything than do it wrong. But if you start it, then do it properly. Yeah. So again, do your homework. Look at what others see when they look at your activity. How can you do that? When you click at me, and you have post and activity. Do you see that? And then you see the number of followers, what articles, how many people read them, the posts, all the activity, so everything's there, and you can see what do others see, and is that something that I want them to see. Maybe there's too much cheering, too much complaining, too much reacting, and you can probably arrive at a couple of conclusions. Good.
Any advice concerning writing articles?
Whatever's interesting to your target group. So if Rafa says, I want to switch to fintech, I'd advise him to immediately start talking and evaluating fintechs. Immediately, not even think about it. So that once somebody gets on his profile, when they scroll his activity, the last 10 posts, even if he's created them in 1 week, because nobody will scroll and scroll and scroll, and the last 10 posts, activities, was fintech comments that are meaningful and not the conference from, or something from 2015.
Okay, so since now, but it's important that now you are getting really active and create a lot of content, right?
If you, for example, if in Rafa's case, there's something he wants to make sure that anything that is outdated goes down on the screen. If you start, it's obviously also weird if you start being from no activity to hyperactive. Just be consistent, start and be consistent and systematic about it, strategic about it. Good, continuing. Małgosia. Okay, then we have the professional experience. What LinkedIn has started doing is batching roles that belong to one company. Sometimes the algorithm, made a mistake and it's not properly batched or not under the same logo. If that happens, simply click it again and it will do it automatically. Here, my recommendation, do not copy paste your CV, just show something that might be interesting where somebody says, I want to know more. Here we have what we mentioned, the thing between first here is in English and then below is in Polish. Unify that. One other thing that I probably would notice is, as a 2-month internship, I have 4 bullet points. And then for my current job, I have 6. So make sure that when describing, either go from no description, no description, no description, then 3 bullet points, 3 bullet points, 3 bullet points. Just find a consistency. That's what I'm saying. Yes, a balance. Also, when preparing your LinkedIn profile, big tip, don't do the changes online live. First copy paste it onto a file, do the editing, give it to somebody to proofread it, to find all spelling mistakes and all inconsistencies, and once you have that, then upload it, not before.
But you can have also visibility of your profile changes off.
Not anymore. Now, I mean, once you save it, I know what you're asking about. LinkedIn has switched off automatically just with the most recent one. But if you change something, if for example, Małgosia says, I want to change my zakres obowiązków in 2014, and she changes that, your network will not be informed. That's off. That doesn't exist anymore. Just with the most recent one. Do you want your network to know that you've started a new role or something? That still happens, but with the ones before, no.
And what if so let's say the name of my role changed, and I want to reposition it, let's say. So I'm not changing really, I'm still in the same job, but I'm changing the name of the profile, but you would still pick it up as a change. If it's the most recent one, the current.
If you add it as a new position, then yes, but you can switch off that change. It doesn't have to be visible to your network. Headline, that is, again, you decide if you want to change it, if it's connected to your role, or if it's something completely different. So you can edit that independently.
Where is that switch?
Okay, let me show you. Oh, him again, go away. So, pencil, and here. Yes?
Where's that switch? You can show it to everyone. I mean,
okay.
There used to be a place.
Here.
Oh, right.
That's the button that you want to see. I just now realized that I forgot one thing that's important to the job search, so I'll quickly go there, because I promised to finish by 7:30. Because the rest of the profile is really intuitive. That's a profile experience, recommendations. If you have them, do it properly, not just have 2 or 3, but properly, and then add sections that you need that are relevant to your target group, etc. Now, and this now plays into skills and endorsement. Let's assume that Kuba is looking for a job. And very quickly, that's a nice trick. Components. Oh, there you go. So, and that's one of 2 reasons why I recommend having a premium account. Come on. Okay, that's not, oh, there you go. So, if you have a premium account, you get access to this one, the top skills that others don't see. You can switch on the premium account for a month for free, borrow it from somebody, do the research. My recommendation, look at 10 supply chain director roles that you're interested in. Make a list of the top skills. Then go back to your profile.
Top skills of this ad, yeah?
Yes. And add these skills to your profile. Obviously, add those that you actually have. Yeah? So if you say, well, I have never done SAP, then don't add SAP, obviously. But the thing is, once you have that, if there are not even 32 applicants, but let's say 200 applicants, this makes sure that you are the top 10, among the top 10 candidates. So you hack a little bit the system.
The system shows me sometimes you're 10% of the top candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Does it match with these?
Yes, yes. Not only, but partly yes.
So you can put them, and even though you do not have any marks on that.
The endorsements, you mean,
It's
approved.
still working.
That's a start. Obviously, it's better now. If out of 200 candidates, 100 do that and have endorsed skills, then obviously you will be 101. But most don't have that anyway. Exactly. So my recommendation: 1, do the research, add the skills that you're missing to your LinkedIn profile. Ideally, get together with friends, a group of 5, 10, 15 people. Maybe you have a WhatsApp group, maybe you have Samba, an email, something, and say, listen, I want to update my LinkedIn profile. Can we please endorse each other's skills? And whoops, your value as a candidate goes up in the algorithm rankings.
Yeah, but doesn't it look strange that
No.
you recommended someone and someone recommended you back?
But that's recommendations. I'm talking about the skills as endorsers. Nobody looks at that. We don't have time. We, meaning recruiters.
Okay.
I'm not a recruiter, just to be, I used to be a recruiter. Nobody has time to analyze.
Okay.
So, make sense?
Yep.
Good. We talked about articles, premium, LinkedIn algorithm. When it comes to the premium account, I said there are one of 2 reasons why it makes sense to have a premium. That's reason number 1, to have insights, and you can activate it for free for a month. The other thing is that I like is I have access to LinkedIn Learning, and I really enjoy that. There's some really, really good stuff on it, especially, I have to say, the career stuff. That's why we are not doing any videos, because our videos wouldn't be better than what LinkedIn has. And they're simply great. Really, really amazing stuff. Good. Before we go into Q&A, let me see if I have forgotten anything. No. Last comments, for example, for Magosha. Her profile works for her right now because it's for internal positioning. If you have a side project that's kind of competing with your current job, and you don't want to serve them up parallel and confuse the readers. What you can do is add your hobby to organizations or projects. So they are part of your profile, but they don't confuse the reader, the more conservative readers, for example. And I think that's the most important bits. Let's see, Kuba, yeah. Good. I think that's it, the most important bits on LinkedIn that I have to share today.
Hi, thank you very much for watching. If you find our content interesting, valuable or insightful, please click subscribe for more videos. And if you happen to be with this business school, an alumni, student or on the faculty side and we're not yet cooperating, get in touch.